Greetings and welcome to the Dingleberry Farm Homestead. As noted in some of my other videos, I own a Wood-Mizer LT15 Start sawmill. Being primarily a hobbyist at this point, I don't go through a lot of blades. I had planned on sending my used blades back to Wood-Mizer via their Resharp program when necessary, but a few things changed my mind. First, I have a neighbor who has a sawmill. He also has a wood mill, basically the same blades as mine, not that it terribly matters. Um, Second, with the pandemic, it's taking longer to get things done. My last blade order took 8 weeks. I'm not sure how long the Resharp program takes, but I'm sure, again, as with everything else, it's probably a little bit longer than it has been in the past. Third, Wood-Mizer will basically discard any blade that's out of spec. They list about 7 or 8 reasons on their website, one of which is broken or damaged teeth. Um, on the internet and on YouTube videos, I've seen a lot of people basically that sharpen their own blades that feel that some minor damage to some teeth are acceptable, especially when you're cutting wood that's not cosmetically important. Speaking with my neighbor, he agreed. He had actually sent blades back to Wood-Mizer. I think on one order he got back only 2/3 of the blades that he sent in. So again, we'll inspect them if we need to, but I think we can tell which ones are sound and which ones are not. Fourth, cost. Wood-Mizer does an excellent job according to the internet. They, I'm sure, use equipment that is extraordinarily expensive and does a superior job to anything that a hobbyist would be able to do. But they charge at minimum $9 a blade plus shipping. I'm not sure what minimum means. I'm not sure what maximum means. I'm sure that probably larger blades or fatter blades, may cost more than smaller blades, etc. But if I factor in a little bit for shipping and handling, let's call it, 12, $15 a blade. In my case, that's about 75 sharpenings to pay for the Wood-Mizer BMS25 sharpener, which, as you can see behind me, I decided to buy. Um, I got with said neighbor and we discussed it, and between he and I, we both had about 30 blades ready to be sharpened. So we're almost halfway to, I won't call it free, but um, let's call it paid for. So after a little bit of discussion, we decided to go in together and buy the BMS 25. At the time, it was $799 with shipping and tax. It was just under $900. My understanding it's gone up probably another $50 since then. Um, the instructions on putting it together are pretty straightforward. I will say that there are some places where I see a lot of words that are not terribly intuitive, but if you keep banging against it, ultimately you'll get it figured out. As far as the physical assembly of the unit, it's pretty straightforward. There's only 3 legs and the support arms. It's when you get into the adjustments that you have to be obviously more careful, but spend more time. One of the more straightforward processes is shaping the grinding wheel. Um, the grinding wheel obviously sits at an angle, in my case 10 degrees, but the side that cuts the hook is almost straight, but there's a little bit of an angle at the bottom on the left hand side. And then as you come up the right hand side, you actually slope quite a bit because you're cutting the gullet and then the back cut of the blade. I'm not sure what they call it as far as the terminology is concerned, but this portion just before you get back up to the hook again. So there's a fair amount of grinding with the stone that they give you, but it's like I said, pretty straightforward. And if you put a new blade on there like I did, along with the guide that they ship with the sawmill, it doesn't take long to get the blade to look similar to the profile of the blade itself. Um, the getting the grinding motor into the angle, the 10 degree that I mentioned, is a little bit of an issue. There is a couple of wing nuts on the back, but then everything else you need to look at is on the front. So if you do buy this or other similar blade sharpeners, you probably need to have at least 2 people to help you get the saw in the right orientation. Obviously, if you get it out of the right orientation, you're going to be cutting your blades at a different angle than you may want. Like I said, mine's set at 10 degrees. I have a few 9-degree blades, but I've already sharpened one or two of those, and I just ran them through twice, and I guess now they're 10-degree blades. As you might imagine, the throw is what I'm calling it, is pretty important. That's the advancement of the blade through the sharpener, through this motor, cam, and bar here. Um, the adjustments for that are right here. You need to make sure that obviously the blades are properly positioned so that when the grinding wheel comes down, it catches the hook angle properly. Then there's the depth adjustment right here, which again requires some tweaking. So when you go through and set this thing up for the first time, I would recommend that you find a blade that is not terribly important to you. I had a number of instances where, until I got it aligned, the grinding wheel would try to take the top off of the tips, etc. But once I got it aligned, it seemed to be doing a pretty good job. So the first 3 blades that I sharpened went without incident. I was pleased. I actually have sharpened one of those three times. And it seems to be doing a good job. Again, it goes through the wood pretty easily, but I can tell the difference between a factory blade and this, but it is pretty sharp. I mean, it's significantly sharper than it was before I started. The 4th blade was another story. When I put it on, I sort of sucked into the success of the first 3 blades and had wandered over to a drawer. I was looking for something, and I heard a little bit of a commotion back at the sharpener. When I came back, the grinding wheel was basically taking the tops off of most of my blade tips. Um, I stopped it, obviously, and tried to see if I could find out what was going on. And to be honest, I looked for quite some time. I would say probably a half an hour. I played with it, and the blade was advancing properly. The head was coming down properly. It would start to work properly, but after 3 or 4 teeth, would act like there was some kind of binding or mechanical reason. And because it wasn't advancing the blade properly, the grinding wheel, like I said, was coming down onto the top of the teeth. In frustration, I walked away. I actually spoke with the neighbor. I looked on the internet. I couldn't find anything that would explain why this one blade would exhibit those problems. When I went back to take a look at it a little bit more, I actually walked into my garage in this direction, and I noticed that the blade was bowed out from the sharpener. This sharpener blade on this particular one, the way it sits right now, is straight from here to here before it starts angling around, and then as it comes back in, angles, and then about here, it's straight again. Well, in my case, the blade in question was bowed out. Now, I would say not a ton, about a quarter of an inch or a half an inch at this point right here, but apparently enough to mechanically cause the blade to not advance smoothly. And because it wasn't advancing smoothly, it was chewing up my teeth. So I experimented with it a little bit, and in my case, I found out that if I moved this roller in, this roller on this side out, enough to keep, there has to be a little bit of tension on the blade. You can't let it completely loose. Um, the bow disappears. So in this particular case, this blade is now in contact with this piece of metal. And because it didn't seem to cause any problems with any of my other blades, I've just left it in this configuration, and I've not had that problem since. Just because I like to try to figure things out, I took a few blades out of my pile of unsharpened blades, and I'd say about a fourth or a third of them all did the same thing. And there wasn't like it was a bend in the blade, a kink, a crink, whatever. At any point on all 360 degrees of the blade, it bowed out. Um, some blades didn't do it at all. So I don't know if New blades are a little bit tighter, and then as you use them, they loosen up a little bit. I don't know what mechanical reason. All I know is that in this configuration, the blade feeds in straight, and when it feeds in straight, it works properly. So, of the blades that I've successfully sharpened, which is all of them, I seem to be getting good results. As I mentioned earlier, I've sharpened one blade 3 times, the one that happens to be sitting up here right now. And each time on Southern Yellow Pine, it feeds smoothly. Um, like I said, can't say factory sharp, but pretty darn close. So thanks for watching. As a new YouTuber, it really helps if you like and subscribe. See if I can get some views and subscriptions, and I'll keep posting some videos. And if you got any comments, please leave them below. Thanks.